all be new.
It will all be new. I haven't opened social media once since we spoke.
Fuck, I love you. You're my actual best. That's the greatest thing I've ever heard.
It's interesting because I took my cue from him, and I've got it down to the only thing I have on my phone right now is Instagram, and that's just to post the podcast episodes each week. I disabled Facebook on my phone. I uninstalled Twitter. So things have been kind of, everything's burning, but it seems calmer for me.
Well, what are you going to do? You're going to fucking argue with your weird cousin fucking, or your like weird Uncle Alan on Facebook about whether or not, Trump's going to save America.
I'm not getting into that one.
You can do that all day.
Oh yeah, man. Freedom, dude. It ain't free. So,
seriously.
No, it costs at least 20 arguments a week on Facebook. Yeah, I deleted it. I deleted it for, I don't know, a few weeks. And I only reinstalled it because I really needed something on Facebook Marketplace. And
clutch.
Completely broken my Facebook cycle and pretty well broken my Instagram cycle. It's like, they're there and I have no fucking interest.
Yeah. There's a lot less car, like quote unquote window shopping without Facebook Marketplace. It's like,
that's good.
Find myself just like randomly looking for shit I don't need a lot less.
I think that there needs to be a game where, and you guys maybe just need to add this you just need to have people open their Facebook Marketplace and just scroll through whatever Facebook Marketplace suggested posts are, because it paints a very vivid picture of how fucked up we are. My shit's like, do you need this Ferrari FXX or do you need this $800 1966 tractor that's been for 42 years? And I'm like, kind of yes and yes. I don't know. Maybe.
Why not
both?
both?
Need both. Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, is it a 2 for deal? How does this work? Is it BOGO?
Right. Can you combine them for a package deal?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
You're not wrong.
Dude, I'm kind of sad because one of the first things that came up was a washable female breathable diaper for a dog.
Well,
you need what you need, man.
That was our.
Don't argue with the algorithm.
Yeah, it's been 2 years since that dog has passed, but I guess I needed a new one. So
yeah, Cambridge Analytica knows.
Just glad you qualified that with dog at the end.
Yeah, that was really important for me. That was really important for me to know how to react for the rest of this call.
Should have led with that.
To know what headspace to be in.
Seriously.
Chris is a pretty cool guy, man. There was the weird diaper thing, but other than that, we're cool.
Yeah, he needs a weird diaper for a 40-year-old man, but I don't know. Everything else.
Oh, that
was odd.
So the day before you got on, I was telling Ross, tonight we had our first fall ball game for fall baseball.
Yeah.
Because that's the only sport you can play where you're not going to run into someone.
Yeah.
It's kind of why we did that.
Yeah. You could.
But my wife and I were both kind of sitting at the game because this was for our third son who's about to turn 6. And we were kind of doing the math on where we line up within the parent group. Because with our oldest son, we're kind of younger. With our second son, we're kind of in the middle. With this one, we're the old ones all of a sudden. I'm looking around why are there a bunch of 28-year-olds here tonight?
Shit. Bunch of teenagers. You're like, this is bizarre shit.
And I've got one more kid below him. So when we go to her games, I'm just going to
fucking weird one.
The kids are going to be like, why is Santa here?
Yeah. Oh.
That guy.
Don't forget your absentee ballot, kids.
Political Santa. Oh, no.
Oh, shit. Son of a bitch. The only thing worse than Santa is political Santa.
Yeah.
That's also Portland Santa. I think that's the same guy.
Probably.
He's also a hipster.
You kiddies want vaccines for Christmas? Too bad.
Yes, they do.
Or don't they? I don't know. Portland goes either way.
No, Portland doesn't. But as the middle school science teacher, yes, you do.
Yeah.
Praise you for that.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to start just because why not?
Wait.
Dial it.
Do you remember what to do?
No, I never remember what to do.
I say my
You
name.
you sound like my co-driver 3 weeks ago.
That's a lot more hazardous to your health if you don't remember what's going on.
We had a buddy, or I had a buddy who has done some work on my Land Cruiser. He runs Kansas City Autosport here in town, and he went to, I'm not going to remember what rally he was just at.
Raleigh, Colorado, Ojibwe.
That one. It was a weird O name.
Yeah, Ojibwe.
And he posted a pic of the notes, and it was like left 3 over crest, extreme caution. And they posted that picture, and then they posted the car afterwards where they did not use the extreme caution. And
they just used not enough of it.
The left rear's literally like the front one's going this way, and the left rear's pointed like the wrong way.
Is it the Subaru with the left rear all fucked up and the door crumpled in?
Yeah.
That car used to belong to me.
Did it?
Holy shit.
That was my old car.
Shout out to
really
Dan.
Yeah.
They fixed it and finished. So
rad.
Good for them.
I just found out recently that used to be my car. I didn't know that. And then there was like a weird tagging of things going on. I was like, wait a minute. So he's like, yeah, no, that's the car that he got from Otis. I was like, Otis got that car from me. And then we posted the picture of that car sideways in a Sprinter van in my old shop.
Oh, man.
A Subaru shell fits perfectly in a long wheelbase Sprinter with about an inch to spare in the back, and the bumper is by your shoulder. So you can do it.
So it's rolled sideways.
Sideways. Rotisserie.
Yeah,
so it's
like
on a rotisserie.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's pretty
great. Who was the one thinking, I wonder if I could fit this into
Otis
that?
Dimiters. His name is Otis Dimiters, and he is exactly the kind of person who would be like, will this fit or no?
Real life Tetris. Did you just go for it, or did you measure?
No, I think he just went for it. I mean, he probably did like measure. It was like fucking close enough.
Looks about right.
He came in with conviction. When he rolled in the shop, though, he just opened the door. He's like, lift it up. I'm like, okay. And then he fucking shoved. He's like, boom, boom, see you later. I was like, that was not your first rodeo.
Guy's done that before.
He's ready. So you guys do your thing. You say, I'm me, and then I say, I'm also me, and then we rage.
Pretty much.
Great.
Lots of raging. Welcome to the Off the Road Again podcast. I'm Chris.
I'm Ross.
I'm Texas Dave.
Woo! And that's, as always, we're socially distanced. Dave gives it a little way with his name that he's in Texas.
Nailed it.
Otherwise, Texas Dave anywhere else gets a little awkward.
Be pretty awkward. I'm Texas Dave, live from Nebraska. Doesn't work.
Right.
Generally, that guy's got a lot more weight and drinks a lot of beer, and probably sits on a Harley if he's still in Nebraska.
I hope he does. Yeah. Power glide for sure.
Oh yeah.
So this is our third attempt to record a show.
I don't know, dude.
I think it's like second and a half.
Yeah. Second and a half.
In correspondence with guests, this has been the most entertaining because of all of our opportunities to try to pull this off, and just you being you.
Yeah. We have big shoes to fill today.
I don't think
we better crush it on this.
Our own.
We'll be just fine. So Dave runs Rally Ready Driving School.
Yeah, you got it, nailed it.
I wanted to put rally in the title one more time.
Yeah, people often want to be like, "Oh, Dave runs Rally Ready Rally Racing School." And
exactly.
Like, I sure don't. I don't do it, man.
Redundant school is redundant school.
Yeah,
say,
welcome
alliteration
to Alliteration
aside.
Station.
Exactly. Dodgeball, A True Underdog Story has been on HBO streaming for a while now.
Excellent.
And it's probably once or twice a week for me to watch it. And there's always the alliteration aside joke that gets me every time. Ben Stiller says like 17 words that start with L's. Completely off topic.
Holds up.
We have a bunch of semi-wild ponies on our property. And people are like, so what are the horses for? And I'm like, oh, we do our rally school by dodgeball rules. And they're like, sorry, what? I'm like, if you can rally a horse, you can rally a car. And they're like, oh,
I thought you were going to say you can dodge a horse. Oh man, if you can rally a horse. Yeah, okay.
No, you got to rally it. You got to be able to complete like a half dozen successful slaloms with the correct line before we'll let you get a car.
Especially impressive. Yeah, if the horse doesn't know what's coming.
No, they don't. They have no idea what's happening. I watched someone try and climb on them once, and they look back like, "What in the fuck are you doing?" You know? And then walked out like, "No."
Get off. That's where you see the videos of people getting launched. It's like, nope, not going to work for me.
Yeah. It's a no from me.
Some comedian has a joke about taking their daughters to somewhere in the mountain, the Italian Alps or something.
It sounds like it's going really poorly.
And like
seriously,
ponies show up.
I like it.
And then they're like, look, girls, ponies. And so the girls go out and watch, but they're wild ponies, so they freaking bite the girls.
That's how that works. Yeah.
And and the girls turn around to him like, why would you let it bite me? And he was just like, I don't know
how wild ponies work. I thought this was a majestic moment.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Tried to feed it
The
a
sun
carrot.
was setting, the scenery, like ponies. Like, no.
Yeah.
Broke
Brad
face
Pitt was gonna
mountain.
Come out of the hillside.
Left leg broken.
Yeah. Try to feed it a carrot and get your hand bitten off.
So can we start with Rally Rescue? Because I think we talked about it
Yes.
last time.
We did.
And it explains why you're petting a dog.
There's two. I'm actually petting two. Mondo's right next
Are
to
there
me.
second dog floating around there?
There's two more directly behind me, and then a fifth one outside. Yeah. These are some of our. This is the miscellaneous mutt emporium and warehouse. We moved to this property 5 years ago. We started the school in 2012 and had a couple different properties that we sort of migrated between. And this property, a client of ours bought for us. It's 140 acres, and we're about 45 minutes outside of downtown Austin. 15 minutes from Circuit of the Americas. Yeah, there's a giant. There's a
white horse behind you.
It's like Ghost from Game of Thrones just got up in the background.
smell.
Jesus, man.
Yeah, the smell with Falcor is really the fascinating part. I mean, it's just
Falcor, that is a great dog.
he stirs, and you're like, oh, he's awake. But yeah, we moved out here in June of 2015, and I grew up in Austin, and the stray dog problem in this country is I think most people are pretty keenly aware of now, and I think the past few years really especially there's been a lot more sort of bandwidth and understanding of the just frankly like mass incarceration of these animals across the country. But it's something
a lot of awareness about that recently.
Yeah, and it's something I was entirely oblivious to even as a dog lover when I moved out here. And it was right. I mean, I started racing in Baja shortly after that as well. And it was like, oh, this is the same. You get out into rural Texas and the relationship between people here and their dogs it's not the same thing. Even in the neighborhood that we are sort of near, there's just not fences. People's dogs are just wherever. And late at night, they all like get together and they like, they're like shooting dice in the street. And it's wild.
They're
Like poker. Yeah.
Yeah. Texas Hold'em. And so we sort of just started accidentally picking them up and bringing them in. Mondo, who's right next to me here, was the first of this lot, and I had a really tragic and really heartbreaking accident with my dog here on site in 2015. And it was a few months later I was finally kind of ready to open up the house to a new dog, and we decided we were going to go to the local shelter, and we got halfway there, and little Mondo here was in the middle of the road, like legitimately just straight up in the middle of the road. Rita's really excited about this story. She's like, you're gonna talk about me.
She wants in. Yeah.
And so we pulled the car over and we hopped out, and he was just like, you could see the fleas crawling. It was like his skin was actually crawling. And he was just skinny as could be. He was, I think, just under 40 pounds. And he probably about 9 months old. And I was like, yep, this one will do. And we picked him up, put him in the truck, and brought him home. And I gave him a bath and gave him some food. And his first poop that night was just plastic and like there was just no organic material at all. And frankly, like he may have had a home kind of too. It's like that's the hardest part about it, is being able to discern between what dogs have a home and are just wildly neglected and abused, what dogs don't have a home, what dogs are somewhere in that weird gray area where it's like, do you leave them to go to to live in these awful circumstances? And it's been a lot of practice for us kind of figuring out when you seek out their caretakers, owners, whatever language you want to use, and try and find their homes, and when you don't. And sometimes that line is really fine. But it just started by us picking up dogs and bringing them in, because I can't drive past a dog curl up on the side of the road teeming with, ticks, fleas, or in one case with a broken leg, who we ended up having to amputate. And that just grew and evolved. And once it got to where I was like, all right, well, that's every square inch of this house filled up, and this is intolerable. And, it was just really organic that we'd rehome those dogs. Literally, I'd throw up on my personal Instagram, hey, we just brought this pup in, and people would send donations. And then it became people sending money, and then auto shipping, food, and a lot of really just tremendous support. And so we sort of just decided to sort of turn that in and leverage it into opening a dog shelter here, which we did this time last year. And it was incredible. It was like immediately the outpouring of support and just the really like funneling that intention and purpose into something where we could really activate on a larger scale was incredible. And the shelter, we sort of put that on pause as soon as COVID stuff started, partially because obviously everybody was home and it wasn't something I could do alone. And also because the shelters were all empty in Austin for a while. It was incredible. They just everybody
adoptions.
Yeah.
It's like all-time high or something, at least in the Northeast, because everybody was home and just finally ready to make a move and adopt.
Or foster even, and it was really incredible. And fortunately, we had cleared out all of our fosters at the time, and yeah, it's just added such a depth of really deepened our culture, in terms of our team, and it really is. For us, it's just been a really clear way for people to see kind of what our core values are and what we're really all about. Because as much as I love race cars, like I like cars because I meet a couple of weirdos who are willing to sit on a Zoom call and have a podcast with me to talk about dogs instead of race cars.
Come on the car show to talk about dogs. Yep.
Yeah, instead of hanging out with our families, and that's to me the magic of the automotive community is like. We can transcend the political bullshit. We can transcend all the other components of just absolute hate and discomfort. And the Pikes Hill Climb was this last weekend, and I raced there for 11 years. And that was always my favorite part is I'm like, there's people I was dearly close with because there's that sort of like war bond, that trauma bond of like, we're on top of a mountain and we all thought this was a good idea. So we're all equally broken, regardless of where we land on like whatever political spectrum.
There's something in common, regardless of all the stuff filtering around it. There's always something in common.
Absolutely. And that common thread of humanity, there's nothing like dogs to remind people that thread of humanity is so completely transcends whatever, ego bickering that we get caught up in. And it's also really amazing because one of the pieces of work that I'm really passionate about is like working with men just to disarm their ego and to connect in a deeper way and with more intention and more meaning. And there's nothing like seeing a guy who pulls in here and is Hellcat and like comes in ready to fucking swing his dick around and tell you how badass he is. And then he sees a dog and he's like, "What's your name, little booper?" It's like you can't go from that and then come back and be like, anyways, yeah, I'm Tom and I'm a badass.
Seriously.
Yeah. No, Tom, you just booped a dog like 9 times and maybe talked for 5 minutes.
So you became Tommy real quick.
Yeah, totally. Hey, Tommy boy.
Well done.
It just creates such an incredible sort of like, frankly, nurturing environment for people to come in and feel really safe and like just fucking leave the egos and check all your shit at the door before we get into it. And that part for me is like really defines kind of who we are and what we're all about.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Right.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, but there does even seem to be, and this is to tie it in, but it seems like there's a pretty good overlap between the car people and the dog people too.
Yeah, it's just a Venn diagram is just a circle almost. Like it's not a lot of
Venn circlegram.
Yeah, there's the occasional rally dude who's like, I'm really into cats, and you're like, all right, whatever. But rally is already the oddball of motorsport, so it's no surprise. And I love cats. Don't get me wrong. I'll party with cats.
I had cats growing up.
Yeah.
Married a lady who's deathly allergic to them and went, cool, no more cats.
Yeah, no more
cats. I can finally get the dog I always wanted. Like,
that's right. Yeah. Very good.
So, should we start with your huge news?
Yeah, man. We
this one's exciting. Like Ross has no clue.
And I have no idea, so
yeah. Well, it all started.
I was a young boy.
I was just a wee lad, wasn't he? Just a wee lad in the Irish countryside. Yeah, it's been a pretty wild summer, and I think that's probably most people are going to mirror that sentiment. For us, of course, we had a big roadblock and a really big, scary sort of monster to tackle at the beginning of the year, and like literally January 1st, we were like, hey, our lease ends this year. We've had a 5-year lease on this property, and that ends like in September, and so we were like, you know what, like we're killing it. We're gonna have money. We can save up. There's a lot of stuff we can do. We're gonna be fine. It's gonna be great. Right around that same time, we had a company out of Italy reach out to us and say they want to do this huge product launch, and We sent them a quote and they approved it. And we're like, well, there's our down payment money. That was great. So that's easy. We'll file that away. That's in March. Life is good. The world ended somewhere along there.
Apocalypse, yeah.
And yeah, and it was, you know, it was sort of the sentiment, you know, and the just like sheer overwhelm and the magnitude of all of it. I started feeling like Prince Humperdinck. I've got my country's 500th anniversary to plan, my wedding to arrange, my wife to murder, and Gilder to frame for it. I'm simply swamped. And that's really, it was just like utter chaos as we like tried to figure out what the hell we're going to do. I got one of the first hemp growing permits in Texas because I was like, we got to be ready to do something with this land.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Backup plan.
Yeah, I'm whatever. I'm ready.
The dogs are loving life. I don't know what else is going.
Yeah, life is good. You know, frankly, I'm good with it. If you know, if that's what it moves. And the cool thing, I think the mark of a really successful business, and for us, is recognizing that like our whole team's like, so what do we do? Not like, is the business going to happen? They're like, what are we can be a graham cracker factory? We could, I don't care. Like, what are we? You want to grow hemp? Let's grow hemp. Like, everybody is here for each other, and it just so happens that we're also really fortunate that we get to drive and teach people how to drive rally cars all day. But anyways, we've worked incredibly hard the past few months to really keep our sales and our revenue in a place that has been really positive for us. But ultimately, and most excitingly, we just beat the living hell out of our local bank. And we're like, look, guys, we've got a lot of equity in this property. We've put a ton of money in, like, send an appraisal out, and I bet you anything, you know, we can hit whatever ratio of loan to value. And so we had a loan approved a few months ago with very reasonable terms that we somehow were actually able to afford out of my own pocket instead of having to bring investors in. And as of, I think it's this Friday is officially our closing date, but we got the all clear today from the bank to close. So I will be
Awesome.
I will be the land baron of Dale soon. And finally, our magical little paradise here. I won't have to pack my Hot Wheels up in 60 days is really the most important piece.
Exactly.
So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you so much. It's a huge, huge hurdle for us. And it's like, just mentally, it's opened so many doors for us to really feel like a level of security that's, yeah, we're already just kind of leaning into that and looking forward to some pretty incredible stuff for 2021.
Hunker down, make it yours.
That's it.
Fuck yeah.
You know, it's really
Good
just
stuff.
dogs, frankly, at this point. But yeah, anybody who has more than 2 dogs knows that that's like, oh, you have 5 dogs? Cool. So you live in their house. Got it.
Exactly. I have 2 plus 4 kids.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm
So
Totally.
like, I don't.
So the
I don't
dogs
own my
have a
own
loan, and you're just
Yeah.
paying it.
Yeah. I pay the mortgage to let a whole bunch of smaller people tell me what to do. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
just
I pay the mortgage and I pour the brown crunchy twice a day. So
Crown
exactly.
crunchy. That's funny.
Brown Country's pretty good. How did you get into rallying? Well, I will go back to the beginning now.
Whew, I'm gonna
Back when
kick
you were a wee
house
little
shoes.
lad. Yeah.
I am like the textbook of a Zoom call right now. I'm in board shorts and house shoes. I'm living.
shoes.
The best part about it though is that this isn't like I was like, oh, time to get ready for the call. This is just what I've been wearing all day.
Just what did you just
My
like
t-shirt,
chilling?
board shorts,
Yeah.
and house shoes. In our staff meeting earlier.
Excellent.
So how did I get into
It's like the
rallying?
modern mullet. It's like business up top, and then
That's it. Hey, you ain't got to know. I'm just a regular old guy.
Exactly.
And I'm like, sorry, what was that? And you're like, damn, they parties, dude. That's pretty awesome. How did I get into rallying? Gosh dang. Well, the year was 1987. So I grew up in Austin playing in a series of increasingly loud but organized punk rock and hardcore bands.
awesome.
And that was like, you know, I was convinced when I was 16, I was like, I've got my whole life figured out.
Just play music forever.
Yeah,
So
right. Well,
that's the
sort of, you
dream.
know, that was like when I was 15, and I met some guys who were, you know, in their early 20s. And I started hanging out with them, and dropped out of high school very quickly. I was like, they don't have a lot of helpful music information and knowledge in high school. I'm just going to call it. I'm just going to stop going. I actually stopped going because my teacher one day was like, hey, I've told you twice now that you have to get this tetanus booster. I actually can't let you back in school on Monday until you like get your shots. And I was like, oh yeah, all right, cool, no worries. And she's like, all right, so but like, here's the thing, you have to do it. I was like, got it. And I was like, probably won't though. And my dad called and was like, "Where are you?" I was like, "Oh, I'm in Houston." He's like, "But isn't it like, don't you do school right now?" I was like, "Nah, I'm buying an engine for a car." He's like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just with some friends. We had to go pick up a B16." He's like, "I don't know what that is, but like, what about school?" I was like, "I'm actually not allowed to go because I didn't get a tetanus booster." He's like, "So I guess we do that." I was like, "Or hear me out. We don't."
Or we don't.
He's like, "You're terrible, and I'm done trying to parent you. Good luck with your life." So some of these people who were obviously a very high-level influence in my life in their early 20s lived in a house called the Gun House, aptly named.
Sounds safe.
Yeah, it actually was several safes full of guns.
Full of guns.
So that, and they were in the street racing and drag racing Hondas and a variety of illicit activities that I've pretended that I was unaware of.
So you grew up in Fast and Furious.
It was not far off.
Those were civics,
Yep.
I mean, we can get into some real weird stuff, like some body modification stuff that I was like privy to at a young age that I shouldn't have.
Nope.
Yep.
Opting out of body modifications.
Yeah, dude. Like cold air intake on your what? Yeah, no, there's some. I was privy to some things I wish I wasn't privy to at that age. And I was like, yeah, I don't really like this. I think cars are cool, but this isn't vibing for me. And I was sitting in their living room playing PlayStation. I grew up in a house with like Lincoln Logs, and like one VHS tape of Thomas the Tank Engine, and that was pretty much it. So I was like, oh, PlayStation car games, sweet. So I was playing Gran Turismo 3. I was like, you guys know there's like Type R's and shit in this game. This is dope. And played the rally, portion of the game, and I immediately was just like that. The like goosebumps head to toe when you get it right, and I was like, "What is this? What am I experiencing?
How do I do this forever?"
Totally, and I mean, just that pure catharsis of like, it was the best of like BMX biking and skateboarding and race cars and mountain biking and whitewater kayaking, like anything that I'd ever been attracted to as a kid, anything that had ever stood out to me is like something that just really spoke to me. Felt like it was just like shoop, tunneled into that TV screen, all 46 by 38 pixels or whatever the hell it was. And I was just like, yeah, no, this is it. And I fell down the rabbit hole hard. And I'd grown up, in straight edge hardcore bands. So I wasn't, doing drugs, drinking, any of that shit. And so, at age 16, I was like, I got it dialed. So like, Dad, have a seat. I got it all planned out. So I want to keep playing music. I want to learn to fly planes, and I want to race rally cars. And he's like, what the is a rally car?
Where did this come from?
And I was like, no, just trust me. He's like, well, no. It's kind of more about who's paying for it. I have two older sisters who went to out-of-state college for modern dance and acting, or their two majors. So when I came along, the youngest of three, and I was like, yo, I'm just going to race cars. He's like, I give up. That's fine.
It's like, I've already spent all my money. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just start a new life with new children.
In his mind, he was like, I have 3 unemployed children. What?
That's exactly it. He's like, I just have 3 starving artist, idiot children for life. Both of my sisters are brilliant and wildly successful in their miscellaneous endeavors, and really have never lost touch with their careers, although I think they would both agree that they didn't necessarily need a degree in it. And I was like, check it out. Why don't we spend my college money? He's like, what college? Your host. And I was like, to buy a rally car. He's like, this is terrible. And anyway, I drew up a solid business plan, also known as being like, fuck, man, come on. And so we had done really well with our music. We had recorded a bunch of 7-inches. We had a label that would print them, and then they'd split the 7-inches with them. We'd sell them at shows. We'd use that money to record more albums. So he knew that I had the business acumen. And so he's like, this will teach him. So he helped me buy a rally car for my 17th birthday, and was like, good luck. You're on your own. Figure it out. This is going to be great. He's
boy.
He's going to get a job. He's going to have to figure it out. And I instead found a team in Austin who was like, has a shop that was like, we want to have a rally team. And they already had a Type R. So they're like, you have a Type R rally car now? Like, so I went to their shop. They paid for my first 2 events. The first one we won because we were the first out of the 1 cars in the class. And that got us an invite to the national championship. And we were like, let's party. So we rolled in. We're like, all right, here we go. Check the entry list. 1 and 1. We're the only car in the class.
Nice.
Boys, finish it up. We get the national championship locked down, second event. And we did. And I was like, this is dope. We're going to be like in the JWRC soon, probably. Like, as long as nobody else shows up to the JWRC, we're dialed. So
win every race we enter if there's nobody else to
I
race against. Yeah.
Yeah, look at this ratio. We're killing it. Don't look where we finished overall. That's insignificant.
Just look at the spot. Yeah.
Yeah, I could vaguely drive a hot nail into warm butter at that time, but that was about as much as you could ask. And so my third event ever in my fledgling motorsport career, I was like, well, what's next on the calendar? And right around that time, the guys I was working with they did the math. They were like, please excuse me, Sally, parentheses, carry the one. This is never going to be profitable. We're not going to do this anymore. And I was like, that's reasonable.
They just pulled the rug out from under you.
Totally. I mean, entirely reasonably. And also it turned out that one of the guys on the team was like trying to bang one of the other one's wives. That really didn't help at all. So
that's a no-no.
Yeah. Don't do that.
Yeah.
That's a big no from me. So I went back to my dad and I was like, hey, we're buds, right? And he had a business that was on the beginning stages of sort of pretending to make a little bit of money. And so we pretended we could afford to do this. And our next event, third event ever, was the Pikes Peak Hill Climb in 2005. I finished third at that one, so that was amazing. Still on the podium.
In class third?
Yeah, I was finished third in class, yep.
What class were you running?
I was in the production class, which meant I had 140 wheel horsepower in Denver. By the top of the mountain, you'd go second gear, you're all, wah! VTEC, wah!
6.
Third gear, wah! It's like, all right, second, it's fine. We'll just
stay in second. The whole mountain.
But I fell in love with Pikes Peak, and so we made that our home for the next
It was still
summers.
Dirt back then, right? Like the top third. Yeah.
There was a mile of pavement at the beginning, and then it was all dirt from there to the top.
Holy shit! Oh.
Yeah, it was incredible. Yeah, I got for 2 years. But the first 2 years I ran there was almost no pavement, and so I got to be a part of that sort of evolution, and we watched the pavement go down year after year. And I ran my last year that I raced was 2015, so we did 11 summers consecutively. In a variety of cars. We started in that Integra and then had an Evo 6 and Evo 8 and then pieces of an Evo 8 with a lot of shit bolted to it.
Rendered 7.8.
Yeah. And that sort of became my home for a number of years. And in the process, about 2010, I realized that I actually can't afford to do this. I don't have a rich dad. I don't have a, oil baron grandpa. I wasn't born in Finland, and I started when I was 17, which, in the world of motorsport is like, might as well be in your 50s.
It's like 17 years too late. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You didn't start when you were 4 years old. You cannot be rally driver. It's not possible.
You weren't go-karting before you could walk? Sorry.
Yeah. You were able to form complete sentence before you could drive car. It's over for you. Okay. So 2010, I sort of realized we got to figure something out. That was also the third year consecutively that we won the open class at Pikes Peak. So we won 2008, 9, and 10. And by the third year, I always say literally my mom stopped even caring. I was like, Mom, we won again. She's like, that's nice, honey. And I was like, okay. I don't think Red Bull's going to call, guys. I think we're going to have to just call it on this one. And so I sort of just started doing some internal work, trying to figure out what the fuck I was going to do, because I was, 21 years older, whatever the hell it was. I don't know math good. So, somewhere around there, 21, 22. And we won Pikes Peak 3 times. I'd been rallying for years and years, and I just never had a budget, never made the pieces really all line up. And so I'd started mentoring with Big Brothers Big Sisters around that time. In 2009, actually. My little brother, Tyrese, he'd never been out of Austin. He was 14 years old. Just brilliant young black man on the east side of Austin who had, been around Austin kind of, but had basically spent 14 years of his life, sort of in captivity, just doing his thing. And it's just staggeringly brilliant, hilarious kid. And mentoring him was, it's the old cliche. It's people say, oh, I didn't save the dog saved me. And that was that's how I feel with when I met Tyrese, was just it just opened my heart in ways that I didn't know I was capable of, and completely shifted my worldview. And for him too, it just having a male figure in his life who really loved him and gave a shit about him. For me, it was oh, this is what I want to be doing. And so mentoring and teaching just became absolutely the thing I wanted to devote my time to. And so I did some training with a very dear friend. His name was Carl Scheibel, who was a client of mine. He rented one of our cars. He was actually a Subaru factory rally driver back in the early 2000s when Vermont Sports Car was in their sort of fledgling years. He took me under his wing and mentored me and taught me everything he knew sort of about, sales and sales psychology, and was just one of the kindest, most generous people ever. And he actually passed away a couple of months ago. I don't know, really unfortunate accident, and it was a really great loss to us. And yeah, that just sort of his mentorship opened me up to kind of understanding not only how the industry worked and how realistic. This is just a regular, just tails.
Nothing to see here.
Sort of what this space could be like for me, and also help me understand that like that was really the space I wanted to occupy is that mentorship role. And so with 3 $500 Civics we bought on Craigslist that were all painted Ford Grabber blue, in a rented parking lot, we started the school in 2012.
That's great.
Yeah.
Trip.
Yeah. It's been ridiculous every day since.
And now you're here.
Yeah.
Where
much.
does New Zealand fit in all that?
Oh man, New Zealand fits in wherever you want, dude. It's kind of like it's like California, but there's like a break in the middle, and like
it's not bad.
It's kind of choppy.
It's not bad.
It's a solid New Zealand accent.
It's all good, man. Spent some good time with my mates down there, so it's all good.
You also sound exactly like Taika Waititi, so.
Oh that's my guy right there.
Exactly.
Oh man, Taika Waititi's a bit of a legend, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Yes, New Zealand, man. We had some Kiwi friends that raced at Pikes Peak with us back in the day, and I just was like, I'm gonna go to New Zealand. I want to take a trip there in 2015, and we went and sort of reconnected with our buddy Andrew Hawkswood, and met his son, who was 14 at the time, and kind of helped coach him at the Race to the Sky, which is sort of New Zealand's version of Pikes Peak.
Great name.
Yeah, it's an incredible event, and Jack and his dad Andrew are just two of the dearest people. And I mean, anybody who's been to New Zealand knows it's impossible not to fall in love with the country. One, because it's like you just can't fathom a place where everywhere you turn you're like, whoa. Yeah, and then you go around a corner and you're like, whoa.
I think somebody described it as the best parts of Colorado all over the country.
Yeah, totally. But in like such a unique landscape, it's like Bizarro, Colorado, and Switzerland, and and it really is so wildly unique. The thing about New Zealand I love is the biomes. You're just driving down the coast road on the South Island, and you're like, cool, I'm in the jungle. Nope, sorry, I'm in the rainforest. And then now it's pouring rain, and I'm on the top of a snowy mountain pass, and then I'm at the bottom of it, back in a rainforest, and that's also a glacier. So I don't really know.
Pretty amazing.
It's unbelievable. And the culture similarly, is just so brilliant. It's the motorsport in New Zealand and just the Kiwi culture as a whole really resonated with me, in that they just figure it out. It's just problem solving. Nothing's prime eligible. It's not like there's no summit that's going to have, your whatever AN fittings tomorrow. So my first experience, I was in New Zealand for an hour in 2015, and we go to meet up with Andrew. And we're not like old buddies. We knew each other from Pikes Peak, sort of. I lent him a helmet once because he showed up. He's like, "Oh, hey mate, you must have an extra helmet." I'm like,
oops.
He's like, "Yeah, sort of missed the mark on that one, and sort of don't have a helmet for the race." So I was like, "I actually really do have an extra helmet." So
it was meant to be. It was fucking destiny.
He's like, "Oh, cheers, mate. Yeah, all good." And he wasn't like, "I can't believe it." He was just like, "Yeah, you guys have a helmet?" Just real matter of fact, "Yeah, I need a helmet." I'm like, "Yeah, sure."
It's like, fucked up.
Yeah.
Thousands of miles away from your base. Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
an extra helmet.
Yeah, sorry about that, man. So one of my first experiences, we land, and I kind of knew where his workshop was. He's like, "Oh, yeah, if you guys come, just stop by the workshop. We'll show you around." We're like, "All right, cool." So we pull up, and he's just pulling out. And so I pull up, and I'm like, "Oh, hey, what's up, man?" He's like, "Oh, how you going, man?" "Oh, I'm just going to my house. Follow me." We're like, "All right, cool." That was it, So we follow him, and he doesn't have a stage mode versus transit mode, in rallies you got the rally stage and then there's the transit between.
It's just on.
He
on.
He just has go or stop. He's a very binary individual. Also really defines his work ethic. So we get to his house, and he's like, "Oh, this is my wife. These are the kids. I got to go pick up some bits. You want to go with?" I'm like, "Okay, cool." So we get in his Hilux, and he's just like, there's, you know, every road in New Zealand is basically just super twisty 2-lane, and there's one lane for Hawkswood. It's just a one lane.
It's down the middle.
Yeah, we just like pull up to this. We pull up to this, you know, some giant warehouse somewhere, and he like parks a truck, and he just walks. He gets out and he walks up behind this bush, and he picks up like a big billet of aluminum. And he puts it inside the truck, and there's just like 6 just big billets of aluminum. I'm like, okay, we're doing this. And then he gets back in the truck and, you know, hoofs it to Kingdom Come into this little neighborhood. And he's like, oh, we're just going to stop by my mate's place, get some stuff machined real quick. I'm like, yeah, okay. And we pull up to this house, and there's like a shipping container to the right of the house, but it's kind of just a shed. Like, and we open it, and it's like it just goes along the curvature of the earth inside. You're like, well, it doesn't end. And it's this like, you know, container with building with shed with other container, full of everything from like 1930s craftsman lathes to, you know,
Awesome.
CNC and everything in between. And it's like the Kiwi, they call them tradies, they're like shorts. And like the Kiwi, the like proper Kiwi tradie attire is you got your tradies, your shorts or your stubbies on. And then you've got work boots and like probably don't have socks, and they're definitely not laced or tied. Your laces just sort of, you know, fuck about. And you generally have maybe a t-shirt, and if it's cold out, you got a t-shirt and a vest as well, and that's that. So this dude's in there, like, you know, foot on one machine, hand on another, and he's like, oh, hey, gun, Hawkswood, yeah, your bits are over there. And he like brings these billets in and unloads them, and then there's like these beautiful, you know, WRC looking uprights just sitting on a shelf, and he's like, oh yeah, these are for our new car. And I'm like, these just come out of a shed down the road with some guys. Like, yeah, so we sort of build all our stuff, just
And
Yeah.
some
that's
lights
fucking
and some
crazy.
sheds putting bits together. And so anyways, that's New Zealand. We've had this really deep connection and love for a long time, and I try to visit basically every year.
It's like the ultimate, just like can-do attitude. Like
It's just figure it out, mate.
like they were like, oh, COVID, all right, fine, we'll just shut the whole thing down,
Yeah,
Seriously.
and
Oh,
we'll just
man.
bunker
Fuck,
down.
if only
and
everybody else figure it
we'll
out like they
be
did.
done.
Yeah, they were like, look, we've got 4 or 5 people who are like pretty like munted at the moment, you know, which is, you know, Kiwi for like not so good, you know, like they're just like well munted. So yeah, we've pretty much got it sorted. It's pretty nice out, you know, like I've got a lot of food or whatever, so all good. Just don't let anybody in, and probably like can't bring it in if we do that, and should be mint. I'll give her a few weeks, and they're like, oh yeah, no, all good. Open it back up, and but just like, you know, for us maybe, and still don't let anybody in, and yeah, we'll be sorted. Turns out, it also, like, to be fair and to play, you know, the devil needs no advocate, but like the whole country is also like the, you know, slightly less than the population of the greater Houston metropolitan area.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Like,
Spread out over quite a bit.
and I
larger
think
of an
some
area.
Americans, when we hear like New Zealand shut down, they think, oh, they quarantined 200 million people. No, they didn't.
Yeah,
No.
exactly. It's like,
It's like
nah, it's
2
like,
million.
it's like Henry and like 12 of his mates, basically.
Exactly.
It's all
Yeah,
good.
right. It's like not even New York City.
No, not
We couldn't even
Oh,
shut
God,
that
no.
shit down.
Yeah, no, it's pretty wild. So, yeah, we're always working on stuff down there. I'd like to get in some cars and do some racing down there with Bucky this year, who's been racing with us. And we've got a couple projects we're kind of working on doing a Rally Ready NZ down there. So, I was supposed to be there right now actually for Rally New Zealand. Is supposed
Oh
to be
man.
soon. So thanks for reminding me. I'm fine.
If it makes you feel better, Ross was
Sad.
supposed to be leaving for Iceland in a couple of weeks, and I was supposed to be leaving for Iceland the end of October. So like we get it. Like
Jeez, life's hard for us, isn't it?
I
exactly.
know. Oh man,
Yeah.
this is really just amplifying all the fucking first world problems.
I know, right?
It's so
Oh,
bad. It's
God.
so bad.
Pity for us 3.
I know, right?
You know, middle class
Everyone-
white men.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Everyone's still employed.
Yeah, right. I know.
Yeah,
Business has been steady. Oh, you guys have jobs too? Oh, it's
Yeah.
a real loss.
it's
Isn't that
rough.
the worst?
It's just rough. No
Uber Eats
right,
doesn't
no
deliver
right
out
to
here,
complain.
so
Fucking no right to complain. We just got to double up on all the cool shit next year.
I'm down. Let's party. We'll do New Zealand, Iceland
Oh,
round trip world
I'm-
tour.
Oh, yeah.
Party.
in.
Yep.
New Zealand is so high on my list. Like, pre-COVID, I was like, how do I immigrate? Like, how do I?
Yeah.
Oh wait,
We've
there's
talked
actually
about
a
it.
process they're going to judge me of whether or not I'll benefit them. Well,
Right.
probably not as a middle-aged
Yeah.
white guy.
I'm driving real good. Fast and sideways. My
I
buddy Andrew,
promise.
I'll probably go as fast as he goes. I'll go on the race car track goodly. Now, y'all put the steering wheel on the wrong side. That's going to propose some potentialized issues for me, but hopefully it turns it out. This ain't no thing.
Dave, your Texas is showing.
Yeah, right.
Well, hang on. Sorry, sometimes the bubble.
Yeah. You get there, just turn up the New Zealand accent. I'm not from Texas.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that's like my buddy in France. We landed in France last year for Monte Carlo rally, and our buddy Excel, who we met on the set of Hyperdrive, the Netflix show, he was like, "You have to come to France." I'm like, "You can't say that to me, dude, because like I will show up." He's like, "You can come to my house. I will let you can stay with me. It will be great week. We will drive rally car. It will be amazing." I'm like, "Okay." So we show up and we're like in his little Peugeot 205, and he's been in France for 6 months, and he's like, "Wow, I forgot it's very difficult. American accent is much more hard to understand." I'm like, "I can, for you if you like, speak in this terrible French accent." Wow, it's so much easier when you speak this way. I was like, it's also just wildly offensive, but if you're cool with it. He's like, no, show my wife. And she was like, "Okay, it's easier this way."
It's easier. That's actually great.
Yeah, that is. That's good.
It's like, I'll never do it outside of your home, Excel, but yeah, if you're cool with it.
Until now.
I'm pretty sure the French general public doesn't get that. Like,
Yeah. No, they're gonna just be like, "Oh, cool, that's terrible," and don't.
Yeah, I thought the game changer in France was just to try to speak French, and once they heard that you were terrible at it, they'd make fun of you, and then they'd switch to English for you.
No, it's you got to do Karen French. "I would like a baguette," loud and slow, in their face. Lean in.
Bonjour.
Yeah.
Bonjour. Me llamo Karen.
No, that's the wrong way.
Nope. How to offend multiple nations in one shot.
Yeah. How many people can we offend in one podcast?
Not that many. There's not that many people who listen to us. Like,
perfect. We're dialed. Yeah.
Which again, I bring it back probably once or every 2 or 3 podcast episodes. Like, the best marketing's emotional, and anger's an emotion. Like,
That's true.
Like, it's
true. If you want to offend people, I mean, I try to avoid that, but we can just lean into it. You know?
Well, I'm just saying, like, those offensive videos get passed around quite a bit, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, them liberals, you know what I mean? I mean, that's really
turn up in Texas. Yeah.
I mean, come on, man.
Speaking of turning up in Texas.
That's right. I just put some dynamite along the whole border. So send California right off into the ocean.
Yeah, I taught middle school science for 10 years. That's not how that works. So that's not
good. No, you don't know.
Yeah, I do.
You can't prove it. So, I mean, allegedly, science is just a theory. That's what I heard.
Right as I was getting done teaching is right when, like, flat Earth was starting to come back again.
What?
And I'd have kids come into class to say stuff, and it would just be like pulling my hair out every day. Like, there's one student that I had, she was an 8th grader, and I'll never forget that she was like, "But what if the middle of the earth is just made out of candy? Like, how do we know?" Like, and just trying to explain to her, like, resonance imaging.
We don't, and it might be a jawbreaker.
Like, exactly. Because I talked about a liquid core and a hard core. So, like,
in some fucked up multiverse, that's going on.
Absolutely. I want to be in that Rick and Morty episode.
Elon's exactly. Yeah, that episode of Rick and Morty. No, Elon's already done that acid and seen that planet.
Man, I'm into it. I think that's really that's where the real dialogue is right now, is like, is the center of the earth candy? That's what we need to be focusing on. People are getting all hung up on, like, is the world flat? Like, who's gonna end the country first, And is it, like, should we have guns or not? Should we protest? But, like, is the center of the earth a jawbreaker, or is it a warhead, or is it a Tootsie Pop? Like, what are we even working with? It could be a blow pop. We don't even know. How many licks will it take?
Man, we got to repurpose all our government efforts here. It's we're in the wrong field.
We got to reallocate at least 2 sector resources towards.
When you hear the phrase think tank, I don't think most people assumes the 3 of us. But why not?
No, I reckon
why not?
They try to leave me out of them. I try to get in them all the time, but Bill Maher never called me back. So I don't know, man. I can't ever get in there. So.
Sure as shit.
Shark Tank too. I don't let me no tanks. So
yeah. I'm a redirect us though.
Before we talk about fucking jawbreaker that is planet Earth.
How many different vehicles do you guys have on the ranch now?
Oh, goodness gracious! Because
it's a lot.
Yeah, it's. I don't have a lot of restraint. I'm like, that
spoiler
alert.
That one too.
we've got out. We use for our front wheel drive cars, we use EP3 Civics. So a little 5-door 205, the most underrated car I think ever, and I think is destined to be a weird cult car in the next 5 years.
I would say it's already
the shifter spot alone is
it's the greatest thing of all time. Yeah. What? Why does there it is.
Steering wheel?
Steering
wheel.
Like if I could have one of those in my driveway, I would. Like,
dude, they're so good. We have 3 and they're like they're the greatest thing ever, especially now that our workshop is finished and we can work on them, because it's like working on a 7.3 Econo line. You're just like, nope, you pop the hood and you're like, well, that's precious, and then you close it and you're like, do everything from the bottom.
Everything from the bottom.
You just pull the engine and you're like, well, this is easy. So we've got 3 of those rear wheel drive cars. We run FRS BRZs, and then we've got E46 BMW and a little 8.6 Corolla that we just caged that we're getting.
Cool.
We're going to do a little 3SGE beam swap in.
Ooh.
All-wheel drive cars, we have a lot of 2.2 and 2.5 NA Subarus, so like open light rally cars, which that's sort of the bread and butter and really where we put people for the most of their seat time.
Is that what you guys were running at Colorado for rally?
Yeah, that's what we're rallying in right now as well. Sort of getting our sea legs back under us in our rally program for Bucky and I while we build our 2021 cars. And then we've got some GD WRXs, 2-liter and 2.5-liter WRXs. I've got 2 Evos, one of which is finally going back into service right now, an Evo 9 rally car that's caged.
Nice.
Evo 8 that we're getting put together. Fiesta ST.
Also very
a lot of other just like weird stuff that's hiding out in corners. Of like, we should get that to work soon and put it in service. So
2 years later.
Yeah. But I for a long time sort of had a very, everybody thought I was the Subaru hater because I was just, I had a lot of the same experience a lot of people have with turbo Subarus when you try and turn them into race cars, which is I blew a lot of them up. But
just say, what happens when you boost a Subaru?
Too much.
More, when you over boost a Subaru.
That's the one. If you change the oil and you leave them alone, they're very fun. But if you don't, and then you also don't, then they're not. So we're sort of like the GC, Subaru chassis. I would say graveyard, but we tend to make them all good and not let them rot. So we've got literally an entire building that's just GC Subaru chassis, shells, cars, whatever. And it's
like Candyland.
I just won't turn them down.
That's where the fucking candy in the center of the earth is. There you go.
Welcome to the center of the earth.
We don't have to dig.
We're the pinata. If you smash our little canvas building hard enough, just GCs will pour out. GCs and stray dogs just go scattering.
GCA is the worst tasting candy of all time.
Yeah. It tastes like sadness.
It tastes like head gaskets.
It's burnt coolant. Yeah. So we've got a large army of GCs, and so part of what we're doing, we're building some new cars for next year for Bucky and I to run in the limited class. Is kind of what we're planning right now, making our return to rallying. But the rest of our GC cars are all getting caged and all sort of getting matching open light packages. So they're all naturally aspirated 2.5s with rally suspension, cages, basically all the bells and whistles, just without the turbo. And those are becoming our arrive and drive cars. So Bucky and I are running the whole series. And then our clients have the opportunity to come here and basically train in those cars here, do co-driver training, work with their co-drivers here, and then actually race in the car that they've trained in.
That's awesome.
It's always been our model, and the term Rally Ready has always sort of tried to guide us in that we don't just want people to come and take a rally school for a weekend. If they want to do more, we're here for that. If you just want to come have an awesome day in the dirt, you're not going to find a more low-key group of people who are just stoked to have fun and go play.
Plus awesome dogs.
Yep. And pet dogs. And whatever level of sort of, skill training you want to do, we do that as well. So that's the idea for us, is to have a huge fleet of those cars. So when we go to a rally, we can bring 2 or 3 client cars.
They're like Legos too. You just swap shit over.
Totally. You just have to have one spare NA25 and, some dampers and control arms and, a couple body panels, and you can run an army of those things. They're like fascinatingly indestructible. Bucky and I both managed to have mirrored offs. I took out the left side, he took out the right side, front left and front right control arms in basically the same accident.
Just
we rolled in, we're like, sorry.
Combine them for one good car.
Right. Bucky gets the broken parts, I get the good ones. and we've had a lot of fun kind of building those cars and really getting to know them better and kind of building that platform. But
say if you're bent left matched up with his bent right, does that then make it go straight?
It turns out it don't work good. I tried to congratulate that and remeasurize, and it just the wheel
remeasurize.
Yeah, it didn't work good. But yeah, the GCs work really well for us. I think, people are like, well, what about turbo cars and what about this and that? I'm like, we have them and we're happy to use them. And I'm always stoked for people who can really benefit from that. And we run UTVs for stuff. We've got a fleet of UTVs as well.
What do you guys have for UTVs?
3 Wildcat XXs now, I think, right?
Nice.
4. And then we have 2. We used to have 3. We have 2 Yamaha YXZs.
Okay. Paddle shifter one or the sequential one?
Sequential, yeah. The proper 3 pedal. And
nice.
Then,
how's it holding up? I've heard conflicting things about the transmission in those.
The transmission's great. The issue is it's not a Hollinger sequential, so when you smash on the lever, you'll break the shift linkage on the transmission internally, which is an hour and a $30 part. Bunch of little stuff with those. I mean, dude, I was wildly disrespectful to that car for 2 solid years of utter just full flagrant disrespect and complete lack of maintenance. And we finally lost third gear after literally 2 years of getting it every day and just go flat out clutch to start and that's it.
Yeah, that's pretty good, especially because that was they hadn't done anything like that before at all.
No, and
not even close.
We pulled the gearbox. We're like, clutch looks okay. We'll replace it. Third gear was $29 for the gear. It was $200 total worth of little stuff. We're like, might as well replace all this other stuff while we're in here. It was $200 to rebuild the thing, threw it back together, and we were
holy shit
back out and ruining gearboxes again in no time. But it's like anything, dude. The trade-off with UTVs, and I have a deep love-hate relationship with UTVs. I exclusively call them golf carts, basically. There's just nothing on planet Earth that comes close to dollars for fun value, and the flexibility of you can come run it here. We can go to Moab and go play for the day for with a bolt-on CageWorks cage and 2 door bars. You can go run Best in the Desert. You can go run Score. It's just the flexibility is crazy with the platform.
Cheap buy-in.
Yeah. Cheap buy-in, cheap maintenance, cheap everything. Obviously, safety is the place where I get really about especially in a rally stage when we're going sideways through the woods at 80. It's like when you have a unibody and then a roll cage inside of it, the redundant safety structures, especially for side impact and stuff, versus a UTV where my elbow almost hangs out when I'm turning into a corner. So I really love to see them grow in our sport and in other sports, and I really wanted to be sort of a spearhead for that, but it's just been really, frankly, hard for us to find the focus to be able to do that. So.
Yeah, once you start getting into the big builds on those, the money, it gets exponentially expensive. It's crazy.
It's just like karting. You're like, oh, I can get a cart for this much, or I can spend $750,000 a year to take my kid karting all over the country with a toter home and
because by the time you spend 75 or 100 grand on a side-by-side to make it really, really capable the way you'd want it to be capable for racing, you could just have bought a used trophy truck or something like that.
Obviously the big difference in the gap, between, I raced a 6100 spec trophy truck for a season with Three Bears Racing and their Geyser truck. And the big difference, and the reason that Charles, our team owner, started running UTVs for pre-running, I think is the same as all the trophy truck guys, is because the cost of a prep alone on a pre-runner or on your trophy truck, you just throw a golf cart away every event. You can just buy a new 4-seat Can-Am and just buy a new one at the next, So, and for all intents and purposes, it's going to get you what you need for pre-running. It's going to get you all the course information you need. So, they definitely have their place. And like I said, for the consumer, they're magic, especially if they understand that it's not a trophy truck and it's not a magical weapon that can do anything, and that if you just stand on the gas forever and go, "Hey Jethro, watch this," you will be dead. But
you give somebody 150 horsepower and 20 inches of suspension travel, and they're gonna say, "Hold my beer and watch this."
Yeah, they're going up real deadlock. That's going to be the primary outcome. There is the dead part. Don't work. So we've been fortunate. We've had a couple of small accidents here, but nothing major with them. And but it's just trying to figure out where that sort of threshold is versus how easy it is to be safe in a rally car. The CFG is, center of gravity in the rally cars is really hard to hurt the car and even harder to hurt the person inside of it. So, I think I'd like to sort of reconnect that a little bit in 21, but we're also working on some, sort of some newer chassis to bring in for some stuff. And really pushing on our motorsport program next year. So we'll see if we have bandwidth for UTVs.
It's okay if you ignore UTVs. We won't.
It is.
We won't jump.
Yeah. No.
I'll be sad because I do like jumping shit. UTVs are great because you can just jump them forever and they just never care.
See, I haven't ever jumped shit, so I don't understand.
Jumping shit's the best.
Well, part 2 of this will be live from the rally range with all 3 of us jumping. So my schedule is pretty clear. If you want to, wherever you're at,
work did say as long as I have Wi-Fi, I can go wherever I need to go. So
I mean, that our Wi-Fi works at least 50% of the time.
50% of the time, all
it works every time.
That's
coming in 2021. Chris shits his pants.
I mean, as long as there's a roll cage around me while I'm doing that, okay, sure. Like
jumping shit is the best.
Yeah,
there are a few things better than airtime.
Car control's higher on my list, but jumping shit is also there.
Yeah.
¿Por qué no los dos?
Our first YXZ, when we got it, I got in it and started driving, and it was like I knew, and I was like, wait a minute, we can go off every jump, and I was like, we have a lot of jumps here because I have a Bobcat, so
that's because I have a Bobcat.
Because I can. I love it.
This is, I mean, like if you can't tell by the wall of Hot Wheels, like this is just like this has been 5 years worth of me just exercising the childhood that I was not denied.
Every Hot Wheels track you wanted to build.
The imagination is run free. It's actualizing itself right now.
Totally, dude. This is just like all the processing, and I'm like, I feel like I was really denied the ability to express my true self as a child.
This is your art degree right there.
I need 900 Hot Wheels in the package on the wall. I need 20 rally cars inside of a World War II airplane hangar.
Exactly.
And I need to jump shit at least once every 36 hours in order to really connect with my true inner self.
And there is where you find Zen.
My Zen is dialed, man. I am so happy. Like life is if you had told me in March that I would be able to that I would be this sort of like at peace and truly in a place of such pure joy, because we're still able to provide like what we do, not only for my staff, like we've been able to just stay completely solid and really care for and take care of this team that's busted their ass to really take care of me in this business for so long, but also that like so many clients who are coming into this space, and we've always really strived to offer something that's way above just like, let's get in a car and go drive around, and try and be really connected. But to see how much people have needed this, especially as they were coming out of, 5, 6, 10 weeks of being entirely locked down, and like just the pure catharsis of like something that they're so connected to, and learning a new skill or deepening their existing knowledge, or just, really connecting with, it's been the coolest thing ever. And,
sounds like it.
Everybody needs to jump shit is really the ultimate. That's the most critical thing.
Moral of tonight's story is
everyone needs to jump shit. Yeah, maybe that's what was wrong with my childhood. I didn't jump enough shit.
I mean, obviously, I don't think anybody jumped enough. Doesn't matter how much you did.
There is no such thing as too much jumping.
Yeah, Travis Pastrana may be the only person who jumped enough shit, and he's paying for it for the rest of his life. So
what? I was listening to Tanner Faust on Smoking Tire the other day talking about Nitro World Games.
Oh my god, yeah.
And they were
used to test stuff.
How they were trying to figure out the speed for the gap jumps, and their science was just send Travis.
Yeah, that was it.
Because he's done so much of it.
I watched it. So I was spotting for Steve Arpin, and yeah, we watched that whole thing. Like we were there for those drivers meetings, and like we sat in there, and they were like, yeah, and then the coefficient and the blah, blah, blah. And then ultimately this angle goes to that. And, like we poured some like pink and green liquids together in beakers and then foam. And then we'll just send Travis. And he was just like, yep, that was it. And like, they just put him in a razor and see you later.
There's the brain where the fear and the possibility of what could go wrong. It's just not, it's just not meeting.
Yeah, it's just 404. Not found.
Error not found.
What's the youngest person you've run through the rally school?
10 years old.
10 years old?
What the fuck?
We had an 11-year-old who was kind of our record for a while. And then this guy showed up, didn't warn us. This is actually a few weeks ago. We had a guy show up, a dad and like sort of a whole family. And we were like, this is a very young child who's here. And we started like kind of talking about stuff. And the dad was like, sorry, so like we're going to be driving? And we're like, that's what you signed up for. And he's like, oh, okay, awesome. And I was like, I wasn't involved. I've stepped away from, sales entirely. And we were like, well, this is curious.
Did he think he bought like
learning opportunity we have that
Like
this
ride
person
along?
has
Yeah.
a large many of thousands of dollars and came for a school and just thought like, what, you thought we were going to drive you around all day? He's like, yeah, I mean, we kind of, yeah, I just thought we were going to like come and hang out and, we'd like learn a little bit. You drive us around and we'd maybe, I was like, no, like, let's party, man. And he's like, so my son's 10. Is that cool? I was like, can you reach the pedals? And he's like, we'll find out. And I was like, well, we'll find out. And we did. We put him in a car and like, it's, he was 10. So there was some hiccups as far as like there's the interesting, like sort of inverse correlation between just the absolute incredible ability to absorb information and also the lack of depth and nuance in language.
Yeah.
And so like having to sort of create different ways to communicate with him, which is something we always try to do anyways because everybody, has different primary sensory dominance and different receptors and needs and expectations and ego. And he didn't have a lot of that. He just like, if you had simple language, you'd be like, okay. And then he'd do it.
But he didn't have any of the bad habits.
Yeah, none of it.
Ooh,
I mean,
fresh
no
slate.
bad
Never
habits,
been in a car before, right?
nothing.
So like,
yeah, just like totally raw. And
I got a
we're
9-year-old.
like,
we might be able to pull that off.
yeah,
Oh,
bring
boy.
it.
We can lower it
down,
by
man.
1.
Yeah, I have a new general liability policy that I'll double check that like they're cool with it.
Sign the waiver. You're on your own.
I mean, like, sign the waiver and don't talk about it in a publicly posted podcast that your insurance company can see. And it's fine. So it's all good.
There's no actual evidence. It never happened.
Yeah, no, it's fine. This allegedly.
Allegedly, I have a 9-year-old.
Yeah, allegedly.
What
he's
the fuck?
9. How old is your child? Allegedly, my child is 9. That's the correct answer. Allegedly.
Yep.
Oh, Dave, thank you so much for coming on.
Yep.
Yeah, man. Thanks for hanging, guys. It's good to see you both. I'm glad we did it.
You too, again.
Sorry for edging you for like 2 months.
It's all good.
Well, like as we stand now, it makes sense on like, I think one of the nights you were like, you mowed till like 11 and you were like, oh crap, I totally missed. But like the appraisal was the next day.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that matters. Like
That was important.
It was
That's
chaos
bigger.
theory. It was just real chaos theory there for a while. And it's been a pretty wild ride, but no, we're happy. And like, we're in a position now to do more than ever and have more fun than ever. And this is obviously a great example of that. And I hope you guys make your way down to the ranch and
We would love
play
to.
with some more stuff, and we'll do a podcast from the ranch sometime.
So
Cool.
you're 45 minutes south of Austin, right?
Southeast, yeah. So we're 15 minutes from Coda, so the F1 track. So
Perfect. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
yeah, we actually get 2 birds stoned with once around here.
Jesus.
That's the hemp farm coming in.
That's the hemp farm. That's
That's Yeah.
Dave, where can we find where can people listen and follow you?
At Rally Ready for the business on Instagram and Facebook, at Texas_Dave on Instagram for me if you want to see a lot of dog videos and not a lot of car content.
Who does?
There's been some rally videos on there recently.
That's true. We got some. I was like, people care about cars, I guess, too. If you just want the dogs, at Rally Rescue is the shelter. We haven't posted anything on there in months, but we're hiring a new shelter director right now, so that'll be kicking again soon. And there'll be a lot more pups that are going to need us to send them lots of love and components for well-being and new homes. And then rallyready.com for the school. We're currently just doing one-on-one private classes out here, but we're booking some events for the fall. And we're kind of getting into our silly season, so it's going to get pretty crazy here. So anybody who's interested in getting in a rally car, call us, come see us soon.
And the email newsletters are entertaining.
Yeah, we don't if somebody's made it all the way through this podcast and has a pretty good sense of who I am, the email is just like a stream of conscious from my brain. So
Yep.
yeah.
And I always have to do the double
Sign it
take
up right
on,
now.
Well, I have to do the double take on like, is this Dave emailing me or is this the school emailing me? Because it says Dave at Rally Ready when it hits my inbox. And so I have to like, oh no, this is the newsletter this time. It's okay.
Yep.
There's like a combination of somebody who does my marketing with me who like wireframes, and he's like, here's what you need to do. And then I'm like, yeah, okay. Yep, there you go, send. It works really well. It's our favorite thing right now is writing obscene emails, and apparently it seems to resonate well. And we send a lot of deals out for a lot of cheap classes. So if anybody wants to know where the real secrets are hiding, it's in your inbox. So
it's authentic marketing. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's it. It's authentic. Yeah, we're
authentic's a good.
It's a very Texas word too.
Good catch word.
It's authentico, just like macaroni grill.
Oh, we don't have those here anymore. They got closed down.
Whoa. Do they have them anywhere? I don't know. I think Romano would called it, dude. He was like, it's too much.
They might have. Sweet.
Can't vouch.
Thanks, guys.
Dave, thank you.
Hearts, boys. Good to see
Ross,
you.
where's your stuff?
Too.
Do you have anything new?
Everyday driver. I wrote something about Formula One.
You did.
I have a long overdue Jeep Rubicon piece coming to Hooniverse once I finish it.
Story of my life.
Yeah.
And if anybody has any good spots near the north rim of the Grand Canyon, hit me up. Tell me about your good campsites. Unless they're like secret campsites, and then you don't have to tell me. I understand why you would protect that.
Just tell me about them, though. I want to know.
Yeah. So that's my
tell
alternate.
me, and then I won't tell Chris. I for sure won't. I want.
Yes,
definitely not. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
The audio audience will not see me winking multiple times. So.
Yeah, there it is.
I think that break between sentences kind of says it all, though.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect.
And that's our show.
All right.